Coming up, Nuggets have a preseason game. We're going to preview that. I'm going to tell you about the things that maybe we're not seeing that might be concerns in what has been an outrageously great vibes preseason so far for the Denver Nuggets. And first, I'm going to tell you why I think Jamal Murray might just have a career year, the best season ever. That's coming up on Locked On Nuggets.
Jamal Murray made a shot.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day, being with us Monday through Friday, being an everyday or hanging out with us, whether you're listening on your way to work, at work, on your way home from work, at home, doing the dishes, mopping. You know you need to mop. So we appreciate you listening to Locked On while you're mopping. Glad to have you guys with. You can catch us at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets or wherever you get podcasts. Do appreciate those 5-star reviews. My name is Matt Moore. I'm a senior NBA writer for the Action Network. I write at Fansided, the Denver Dig, Hardwood Paroxysm. I've got a big article up at the Denver Dig with thoughts from what I saw at training camp this week, as well as I'll have another update later today, kind of wrapping up those things as we head into Saturday night's preseason debut versus the Minnesota Timberwolves out in San Diego. He's Ryan Blackburn. He hosts the Pickaxe and Roll podcast, which you should also subscribe to, and is the senior writer for the Denver Nuggets for Mile High Sports. Glad to have you guys with us here on a Friday. Somebody mentioned no Swipa. Swipa's in New York.
Just big time in us.
A giant preview, like he's touring the YouTube facility. We got big timed badly by Swipa. So make sure you let him know how mad you are, because this is supposed to be a 3-man weave, and well, somebody just no-showed on us. But we will preview the game between the Nuggets and the Timberwolves, what we're looking for in that preseason matchup. I'm going to tell you a little bit about some possible issues that might be there. It's like, what don't we see going into this season after what's been a really great training camp so far? But we're going to start today with this. There are a number of themes that I took away from Nuggets training camp out in San Diego from the very short time I was there. And one of them is this. This is the most engaged I've ever seen Jamal Murray. It's another level of engagement. He is on this after practice, talking to David Adelman, working through things. He is on the court, not only working with the young guys and letting them know what they need to do, but also with the veterans, working through things actively. Jamal singled this out on media day, talking about on-court communication with Nikola Jokic being such an important thing, because they know how to run 2-man game without communicating. They don't need to talk through their game. But what they do need to talk through is the rest of the team. This is a team that has consistently had communication issues on the floor. And David Adelman said this week in his post-practice interviews to a question I asked about it, that it's been better, that the players are giving more feedback, in part because they're in a better environment to do so. That, again, I'm not here to like throw dirt on Michael Malone's grave, but there was a very top-down organization. Malone was a guy that was like, hey, the buck stops here. And David Adelman is taking much more of this is a collaborative thing. You guys are veterans. You're the superstars. You know best. I trust you guys to let me know. Be honest with us. We heard that echoed with Ben Tenzer and John Wallace about them wanting brutal honesty from Jokic and Jamal Murray. And all of this kind of leads me to this. It is okay to roll your eyes at the idea that Jamal Murray is going to be the type of player that we have all expected, hoped, prayed, whatever for, that he is going to be the guy that, whether it's Ryan hoping he shoots 8 threes a game or Swipa that wants him to be an all-star, that may not happen. But I can tell you that doesn't need to happen for him to have his best season yet, Ryan, because the more that we watch his evolution, I wonder if instead of becoming Steph Curry, instead of becoming Damian Lillard, instead of becoming Devin Booker, if Jamal Murray is becoming prime Mike Conley, if Jamal Murray is becoming these type of players that make an impact by their leadership, their smarts, by helping your team win in doing the things that are harder. Adelman has repeatedly called out Jamal Murray's excellent defensive energy and effort level this preseason in training camp. Like, he is putting in the work on that end. And so my question for you is, can Jamal have the best year of his career if he doesn't steal the highlight show?
You know who's another name that comes to mind, a name that we have debated before, is Tony Parker in the entire mix of, like, hey, Tim Duncan, Nikola Jokic parallels pretty understandable. The Nuggets have talked about wanting to be this version of the Spurs and like having the longevity, not necessarily being, hey, you're not going to be a full-on dynasty, but you're going to have prolonged greatness, prolonged amazing seasons, opportunities to get to the final endpoint. But one of the big reasons that they're able to do that is because they had Tony Parker, somebody who could take over when necessary, could win a finals MVP when necessary, but was more so kind of the accompaniment for and the ability to kind of accentuate what was already going on that was very good. I totally agree with you. Jamal Murray is somebody who I've always, like, my career has been tied in lockstep basically with Jamal Murray's growth, ascension, the ups and downs of what he's been able to experience in a Nuggets uniform. So I do have a vested interest in wanting to see him do well, wanting to see him be great for this Nuggets team. But you and I have talked about this, and we've talked about it a little bit off record too. Like, the safety net just isn't there anymore. And the opportunity for him to grow without Michael Malone does sort of make some sense, where he's now sort of like taking that next step as a leader, as a initiator, as somebody who is being that communicator and feels the need and the desire to really up his own personal game. So it's been nice to see. We've seen all the positive steps so far. And you're right, it may not be statistical, but it might be impactful.
Will you be disappointed if that's the case, though?
No, like, what I want to see is for the maturity that we've seen so far, the growth that we've seen so far from him, I think is really valuable, because one of the things that Nuggets fans, especially our Jokic-centric fan base, has really latched onto is the idea of Jamal Murray not stepping up, not growing, not being the right second banana for Jokic. I think the right second banana for Jokic is not an all-star. I think the right second banana for Jokic is somebody who accompanies and accommodates his own skill set and molds and kind of is malleable to Jokic's game as much as possible. And I think we're seeing Jamal do that in a lot of ways. What does Jokic do every summer? He goes to Serbia. He disappears for a while. He recovers. He takes his brain there. And what we saw Jamal do over the course of this summer was really step up as a leader and a communicator and somebody who brought the team together in his stead. And that, to me, really matters. If Jamal is going to do the things that Jokic doesn't or cannot do, I think that's really valuable. It doesn't have to be statistical. It just has to be impactful. It has to be somebody who is stepping up to the table and taking responsibility for what is happening here.
Mirka wants to know, is Jamal jacked right now? He got some weight. I would tell you that everybody looks in incredible shape except Yoke. Like, everybody looks absolutely just amazing in terms of, like, Aaron Gordon is somehow in better shape, which is insane. Christian is jacked. Like, Christian is jacked. And it's not that, like, Joker doesn't look bad, because it's not like Joker doesn't look bad. He just doesn't look like best shape of his life. But Jamal, I think, definitely looks like and Adelman talked about this yesterday about how everybody's in shape, everybody's in condition. Like, everybody came in ready to go. And that, I think, is important. You kind of mentioned this with Michael Malone kind of moving on. I do think it's an interesting kind of dynamic of maybe this is what Jamal needed, because I was concerned, there was a lot of talk last year when Russell Westbrook was being talked about as like the best two-man game with Yoke. And I think that one of the things that is the best way, from what I can ascertain from covering Jamal, and again, I don't pretend to know Jamal Murray at all, but I do think he's somebody that responds better to challenges and opportunity than threat. And so I think because he doesn't want to try and like overcompensate. I think he's always trying to find that balance. And I do think that what they've kind of done is everybody, I think a lot of the fans that were frustrated with Jamal were like, yeah, they're going to hold him accountable. And that's what they like. They just want it to be like an attacking tone versus like, hey, we expect greatness from you. Yeah. We're going to give you the opportunity to do that. Like, you don't have a safety net anymore. You don't have, like, it's not the same old. Go do the thing. All right. And Jamal's taken that opportunity. And that I think is a really positive sign. So I am as high on Jamal as I've ever been going into a season. This is as high as I've ever been on Jamal going into a season. So
I love it. It's exciting. It is a feeling that, like, when you take Michael Porter away, when you take Russell Westbrook away, it does leave a lot of opportunity, I would say, for Jamal to step into those roles and really sort of reassert the play style that he likes to play, but also changing things and being in a better place to be able to do it.
One final note, the quote synergy between Jamal Murray and Jonas Valanciunas in yesterday's practice was excellent, according to David Adelman. Something
interesting. Stagger.
Coming up, possible issues that we maybe aren't seeing yet. It's very easy to focus on the positives, but come Saturday night, some of the bad spots are going to show up. What is it that we're not really aware of that could be challenges for this Nuggets team this season? We'll get into that and more coming up on Locked On Nuggets. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with a brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. These systems are so great for giving you that whole thing of pushing you beyond the ways that you think that those breakthroughs are so important. I think it's easy when you're working out to just do the same old, but you've got to be working towards breakthroughs, pushing to get to those next kind of levels. The personalized class recommendations will keep you engaged. You get workouts tailored to your vibe and energy level each week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us, making this part of your day and making us your first listen. Appreciate you guys being with us. So, okay. It's all good vibes. Everything's great. Everything's working awesome. It's gonna
championship. It's it. That's it. That's all there is.
Nothing could go wrong. Clearly on Saturday when they play the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I'm sad that our guy Snow isn't in here to say that they need to beat the Timberwolves if the season is over, because he's been saying that in every single chat that we've done for the last month, that they have to beat the Wolves
right
in the preseason game or the season is over. What are we going to see that might be more of an issue?
Well, was that a question?
I have thoughts, but I'd like to hear yours.
Okay. The first thing is that whenever you change a defensive scheme, if there are going to be changes, there's going to be communication issues. There are going to be steps that they have to take. And while the effort might be good, the effort might be in a pretty good place, and everybody has the the buy-in. Oftentimes you see when teams adjust schemes that there are going to be some potential concerns on how they guard some things, how they do some things. So I'm more worried about Jokic in that front. If they do put more pressure on him defensively, I wonder how much he's going to be able to handle it.
So I think there's new terminology and there's new players. So I think the early starts, especially this first preseason game, it's probably going to be pretty clunky and clunkier than you think it's going to be. The read I've kind of gotten is that the starters are not like out of this world yet. Adelman was asked about it and then responded like, oh, it's so good. But my read is not, I did not get the same thing that a lot of people got from that. It sounded like what you say in order to make sure that there isn't a controversy. No one has really talked about Cam Johnson unless it's been brought up. So like a lot of camp is finding out, what do you talk about unprompted? and no one's brought up Cam unless it was prompted. Now it seems like he fits. Like Jamal said coming into on media day, he was like, I wouldn't be surprised if you led our team in scoring a lot of nights. That's a big thing to say. I am just kind of curious if maybe there's going to be a little bit of clunkiness with the starters, with not the other four, but Cam, just like Cam trying to find his footing and those kind of things. Peyton Watson's been handling a lot in the second unit. The second unit is basically Bruce Brown and Peyton Watson handling the ball the most. And apparently Peyton Watson's handle has been like way tighter, way better. That's good. It's good to have multiple ball handlers. Even if I'm expecting at this point, I am kind of expecting Jamal to once again stagger, because I think that I think they were really going to reevaluate it. And I think honestly, it was just like, oh, he and JV are just like, I think that was what I think it was like, hey, maybe Jamal and JV won't be they are a perfect fit. Okay. So Jamal can stagger. But I am kind of, I will tell you that I continue to be worried, because every indication is that Peyton Watson is your backup 4, to the point where, like, I am not going to be surprised if Deron Holmes spends time in Grand Rapids. I think that's a mistake. I think that Jonas is a monster rebounder, no question. Jokic is a monster rebounder. But when they didn't rebound well as a team last year, they still were not great at defense. They were not as elite as they have been in defensive rebounding. And I worry about Peyton at the 4 leaving too much on offensive rebound chances, especially if they run into 2 big lineups. You can counter that, like Jokic and JV, or you can go back to AG and Val. You can counter it. But I am just kind of like, I don't know that I love the idea. If the whole thing is Peyton is looking to get paid, so he's going to want to create some of the ball in his hands, and he's been hitting shots.
Sure.
And he's handling more. Those are less power forward responsibilities. So who's going to take the power forward responsibilities in that second unit? Because if it's Tim Hardaway Jr., Tim Hardaway Jr. is not going to be doing that. Julian Strother's not going to be doing that. I worry about those type of things a little bit with the second unit, just like detail-oriented stuff with the second unit, where it's like, oh, this is so much easier and better, but there's still these like little things that, and I'm not expecting the bench to be perfect. It's the bench, but it's just like something that I kind of have flagged as something to watch out for, as well as trying to make sure, like, I don't want to see Julian Strother get erased. I think it's important to get scoring punch from Julian Strother.
Okay. So a lot there. I have concerns with a lot of what you just said. And the reason why is because you cannot play Deron Holmes and Julian Strother in the rotation. If you're going to play Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway Jr., Peyton Watson, and Jonas Valanciunas. So are you going to an 11-man rotation? Is that the goal? Can you even stagger a starter in that situation and also give those guys requisite amount of time to develop and form chemistry and actually form lineups in order to do that? I think it's a very real concern of mine that while like Denver, they should use their depth, but in order to actually play and get those feel like where they're actually getting the chemistry together, they have to have extended runs together, don't they?
I hear what you're saying, and I think that's a big concern for David Adelman. So I think I think you're going to be like lockstep with the plan. To me, I'm just kind of like, look, if you played Peyton at 4 minutes at power forward and 4 minutes elsewhere, and you play Deron 4 minutes at power forward and not play him even if it's just like a few minutes, giving him like those, because you're still trying to fill, with trying to keep the starters' minutes down. You're trying to fill 15 minutes of time at each position for the starters. Yeah. Right. I feel like you should be able to find 15 minutes pretty consistently, 15 to 18 minutes pretty consistently with that many guys. Like, I think that's okay. And I'm actually okay if like Julian doesn't play. I would rather Julian play consistently in smaller chunks than not play. Then it'd be like, well, it's either or. And I think that there's interchangeability here. Like, I think that's like, that if you're going to have, I guess one of my questions is, I understand the depth. What we really say then, though, is if it's like, well, they've got depth this year. Okay, so you're talking about 8. You're talking about 10 guys versus 8 or 7 versus,
or it's 11 or 12 or 13, depending on how you want to use Jalen Pickett or Zeke Naji or
Right.
Deron Holmes or somebody of that nature. 100%. There's major concerns there. I will just sort of counter and say, like, one of the principles that Michael Malone used, and David Adelman, of course, on his staff for a long period of time, was he wanted to give those guys long runs. And so in order to develop that chemistry, in order to form lineups that he actually liked. Now, what that can develop into is too much trust in certain mechanisms, too much trust in certain systems, and then not enough development of others. So I agree with you that Denver should be changing things up. They should be trying different things. They should not fall into those patterns. They should be trying to play Deron Holmes wherever they possibly can. My concern, my major factor there is that if you're going to want to win games as well, the team's going to have to buy into an OKC approach where, yes, 11 to 12 guys might play, and you might play 4 minutes that night. You might play 8 minutes that night. You're not going to play 20 off the bench every single night, and you have to be okay with that.
Well, I think one of the challenges with that is honestly that Tim Hardaway Jr. he's been awesome so far.
Yeah.
Like everyone has talked about, he shot the leather off the ball. He's fit in great from a personality standpoint. Everybody's like, he's really great to have around. Like, they just love hanging out with him. I will tell you that as a Julian Strother Island guy, I am very concerned. Like, I'm just worried that like Julian's going to get moved out. And I don't want to see that happen, because I do think that Julian's scoring punch, particularly on ball, is really valuable, especially in the regular season. And I think it's almost one of those things where it's like, you can play Jamal 36 minutes and he might kill with JV, and that's awesome. But also, wouldn't it be nice to have him play 32 and Julian to play those 4 minutes, right?
You could also flip that, by the way, and say Tim Hardaway Jr., he might be great early on in the season, and then there might be some teams that continue to attack him the way that they were attacking Julian Strother last year. Or maybe he's not shooting well, and you might actually see Tim Hardaway fall out of the rotation. It is very easy to see that happening, in my opinion, because if Julian actually looks good, like a player that you want to develop, you have to keep playing him. It's the only way to do it.
I will say David Allen is very much in lockstep with your idea. Like, it seems like the idea is like he wants continuity with the various units, that it's like with at least 4 of them to know how to play together, and then the 5th guy comes in. And I get that. I just am of the, and I think one of I'm dead serious. One of their ideas legitimately going into the season is like, they've talked about this, and I think it's really good. This team is legitimately aiming for, we have to blow teams out more.
Yeah. Let's go.
I think that that's such a good approach to have, to recognize like, we're good enough to blow these teams out, and we just didn't. And so if we're sharper, we play fewer minutes, lighter loads, better performances, more wins, don't have as many comebacks. We don't leave these games up to chance. If we just execute and actually blow teams out.
Deron Holmes could get 12 minutes a game if they're all in the fourth quarter when you're up by 25.
Right. And that's great development for him. Yeah. And even Julian, just like Julian getting to like, because, and I'll say, I mean this very seriously, like Peyton Pritchard was a garbage time king last season.
Oh yeah.
Like he's good and can play in playoff games and et cetera. He's a big part of their team, but Peyton Pritchard took a ton of shots when they were up 20, because it was just like, somebody's got to play. And this is like, he's our guy. So that's kind of an opportunity that maybe they can take. We'll see how this works out. I'm very curious to see what the rotation is and how things look and who plays on Saturday night when they take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. We'll preview that game coming up next on Locked On Nuggets. The NFL season's here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Great, fascinating game this weekend between the Broncos and the Eagles. I kind of like Bo Nix rushing touchdown. I think there's a good chance that he's just going to like do that roll out, don't really know what he's doing, and then prayer dive thing that he does to get into the end zone. Eagles secondary has not been great. So this is actually a pretty good opportunity for them to steal this. I don't love the line on this because it suggests that on in Denver, this would be like a pick 'em, and I'm not sure I agree with that. I think the Eagles should probably be favored. But I am kind of looking at Bo Nix rushing touchdown this weekend on FanDuel. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets.
Hey, do you think your guy Travis Kelce is going to get that Life of a Showgirl boost?
No, I do not. He's
damn. I was really hoping for it.
Okay. So Saturday night, first preseason game. We're already doing this. We're already doing a preseason game, which is wild. It is really stupid how the NBPA negotiated this. It's just really terrible. The NBPA, basically what they wanted to do when they negotiated all this was, hey, let's figure out a way to where we can make more money for less work without factoring that more work early means less work later, because you will be healthier and your team will be better and it won't be just throwing guys out there. So the NFL is talking about going back to practice and pads, and I think the NBA needs to go back to a 2-week training camp and full preseason slate. I just think it's for the best. Anyway, they're facing off against the hated Minnesota Timberwolves.
Reviled.
And like, this is not the winning this game doesn't matter. Despite what Snowwolf says, like, this game does not matter. What matters is going to be like how they look, the continuity, the execution level. I'll be just very curious to see. I want to see the shot distribution. That's one thing that I think is going to be very interesting to kind of look at, is who gets shot opportunities for the Nuggets in this system. Because I don't think Jamal's intention this year is like 30. Like him talking about Cam Johnson being able to lead and the way that he's approaching this. Now, maybe it's just like maybe the Wolves are just like, hey, if you want to shoot mid-rangers, and Jamal be like, okay. But I want to see, like, does Christian get those shots? Does Cam Johnson get those shots? Is Christian Brown going to be the point guard that Ryan Blackburn thinks he is? Are they going to be able to? The second unit's going to be like the very interesting thing, because part of this too is, if we're being serious and non-teasing, if we're talking about the concerns that we probably are going to have, Ryan, like the biggest kind of thing that we're likely to be worried about is probably going to be the second unit pick and roll defense. That's probably the biggest area that's going to be a vulnerability.
Yeah, and to your point, that one of the benefits of having Peyton Watson defensively is that he can be your rotational defender. But kind of like your conversation about Aaron Gordon with the starters, if you have Peyton Watson above the arc and not rotating over from the weak side to give that extra rim protection, then it means Tim Hardaway is your rotation defense, Julian Strawther's your rotation defense, Bruce Brown is, and those guys are just too small and too slight in order to make a significant impact the way that Peyton Watson has made that impact over the course of the last couple of years. It's a good point, and one of the reasons why you'd want somebody like DeRon Holmes out there. I am curious. I am 100% curious. I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunities for different guys to show up in this particular situation. Do you think that, like, first of all, with Minnesota, they've got their own agendas, they have their own desires. Like, I assume they're going to be playing their starters as much as they can, like at least like first quarter, second quarter is what you don't think they're going to play them at all?
No, I don't know. I just think like, don't be surprised if it's like Anthony Edwards won't play tonight. Don't be surprised if Jokic doesn't play. Like, just don't be. Luka's not playing at all this weekend. Don't be surprised if they don't play. And so
well, then my next question after that would be, you mentioned this before, is like ball handling and stuff like that. One of the other concerns I have about Denver is they are trying to establish Peyton Watson as a guy that can handle. They are trying to establish a guy like Cam Johnson as somebody that can handle. It's something that the Nuggets have never done, in terms of either, like, it's been their 1 or their 5 who handles primarily. Maybe they're 2, depending on, like, if they're running multiple point guard lineups, things like that. Aaron Gordon can do some things. Their 3 has always been stuck in the corner, and like they have a lot of like development that they have to do. So it's one of the things I'll be watching in this game preview. Like, what does Cam Johnson actually look like, and what does the offense look like when he is initiating the set?
Yeah, so I think that's one thing that's one thing that they talked about. They made a lot of adjustments too. Is Adamans talked about, look, we have sets and actions that we know work and we know how to run and are perfect, but teams have adjusted to the way. He mentioned this on Media Day about teams have adjusted to the way that they play us, and then he followed that up in camp by talking about moving where guys are in those situations. So that, I think, is what you're kind of going to see here. Is I think you're going to see Cam strong side high as more of the release valve to where if they run a post up for Yoke, that if need be, if they send the help, kick to Cam, if they recover, now Cam's off the dribble on pump fake and drive, maybe back into a screen off of Jokic. And now you've got real act. Like, these are the type of things they can do now.
Yeah.
And nobody's trying to nobody around the Nuggets is trying to say anything bad about Mike, except that he needs to stop podcasting. But there is a lot of man, we got guys that can do a lot of things now. Everybody can do a lot of things
on both ends.
Yeah. And it's just, that's very evident. What is going to be the one, give me, let's do this. Preseason stats don't matter, but what's the one stat you want to keep an eye on?
How many 3-point attempts are they getting up? Is this going to be a thing where I don't necessarily want them to go full bore and say we're going to average 40 3-point attempts per game, because you've got Jokic, you've got Valanciunas. There's a reason why you should be force feeding it into the middle and then working off of that. But you need mechanisms that generate more open threes. Just where that is the read, and you've got guys that you can trust it. And I'm curious to see who those shots are going to. Is Peyton Watson still shooting above 35%? Is Christian Brown feeling like he can get up 4 or 5 per game as opposed to the 2.8 that he averaged this year? That's got to go up too. It needs to be built into their DNA. So I'm curious whether they're going to get those up in preseason or not.
I have a very niche one, but I am very serious about this. I want to know what their non-Jokic minute turnover rate is. Because I want to know, there's been a lot of talk about how everyone's playing smart and everyone's playing sharp with the basketball. And I want to know if, because honestly, I'm just expecting Jokic to play pretty sloppy. I just am. It's preseason.
He also tries stuff. This is the time to try stuff.
Yeah. And so, I don't care about their turnover rate, because it's oh no, they had a 19% turnover rate. Oh, that's right, they had a 127 offensive rating. It doesn't matter, right? But last season with Yoke on the floor, they only had a 12.8 turnover percentage, and with him off the court, it was 16.2. That was
where that came from.
Where Russell Westbrook? Yeah. Anyway.
So 7.2 turnovers per 100 possessions for Russell Westbrook with Jokic off the floor.
Okay, he's out of the league. We don't have to do that. But I do want to see if there's good continuity between the other guys for them to be able to understand the actions and if they can operate and execute. I think that's really important, because I think if you had Russell Westbrook on this team, there'd probably be fewer turnovers because the bench is better. Shocker. Okay, that's gonna do it for Locked On Nuggets. Appreciate you guys being with us. Guess what? Post game tomorrow night. You can catch us after the Wolves game. We'll break it all down, talk about what we saw, what we didn't see, and knowing us, we'll say the season's over.
Yeah,
if they lose. So hope everyone stays healthy on that game, knock on wood, and that it's a good outcome. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy the fall season if you're in Denver or wherever you are. We'll see you guys again next time on Locked On Nuggets.
Basketball is back.
It's always been here with WNBA, but we also like the NBA, and that's good.